喺多倫多網上電視文世昌會客室。今日我哋嘅訪問對象咧就係多倫多嘅市長候選人 Nunziata， 歡迎大家聽聽我哋同佢嘅談話。Welcome to TorontoTv. Today our guest will be Nunziata. He's running for the mayor, and we know that the race is a very tight race. So we want to ask him, how is he so confident that he's going to be our elected mayor in the future? Right, with you.
Thank you, Thomas. Very nice to be with you today. I feel very confident. This has been an exciting race. We're down to the last bit of the race. We're into the stretch run, and the response has been overwhelming. We have tremendous momentum. We just had the City TV debate, and I feel very good. It went well, and we have tremendous momentum. So as I move forward to the last few weeks of the campaign, it's important for me to continue to get the message out. I am the independent candidate, the experienced candidate. As you know, I'm a son of immigrants. My parents came to Canada 53 years ago, so I can relate to ordinary people in this city. I've experienced the role of growing up in an immigrant family, as most of your viewers can relate to. And so I think it's important when you are the leader of a city as diverse and as multicultural as Toronto that you understand all the various components that make up this great city.
Yeah, John, let us start with your experience as a son of an immigrant family. We know that a lot of people say people from Hong Kong, people from China, and people from Taiwan in the Chinese community, they come here. The most difficult experience is how can they relate their past experience and also their past qualifications so that when they come here, they don't have to change the job. And for example, if they are a doctor or engineer, they don't have to wash the dishes and do other things. How can you tell our audience that you have your sort of proposals so that when you are elected mayor, you can do better for the new immigrants?
Well, because I am the son of immigrants, Thomas, I understand these concerns, and I was a member of Parliament for 16 years. And what you raised is a very, very important issue. We have qualified doctors, qualified engineers from Hong Kong, from India, from all over the world, and they're driving taxi cabs or they're flipping hamburgers at McDonald's, and that's wrong. I think the problem is that we have to change the rules and regulations, and instead of Canadian experience, we should be focusing on relevant experience. So if you're a doctor, then whether you have your experience here or in Hong Kong, it shouldn't make a difference. So as the mayor of the City of Toronto, I want to make sure that the people of Toronto, especially the professionals who are qualified, are able to do the things they're trained to do. And I will be an outspoken advocate in order to ensure that that happens at the provincial level, at the city level, and in Ottawa at the national level.
Yeah, John, do you have anything specific? Any sort of concrete proposals? I know that some other candidates will propose something like pairing the Toronto workers with those from the immigrant experience so that they can work together. Or some even can propose something like an internship so that their qualification can eventually be recognized.
Yes, that's part of my plan as well, an internship program and a mentorship program in order to ensure that interns, with respect to the internship, that people can get relevant experience acting as interns. And as far as the mentorship program, I think it's critical. And there are many. You're a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. when I practice law, I welcome the opportunity to help other young lawyers, to help law students, to take on articling students. So the mentorship program, I think, is something that we can do as a city, and we have a huge legal department, for example, at the City of Toronto. So I want to develop a mentorship program so lawyers from other jurisdictions can come and obtain and acquire the necessary experience.
How much you know about the Chinese community?
Well, I've been a member of Parliament. I was a member of Parliament for 16 years. I served as a local councillor for 4 years, and I have developed a very close relationship with the Chinese community, both mainland and from Taiwan. I was the chairman of a parliamentary committee that dealt with Chinese affairs.
What actually is your ethnic background?
I am of Italian origin. My parents came to Canada in 1950, 53 years ago. My dad worked on the railroad, as did many Chinese immigrants, helping to build the railroad. And my family ended up in a place called Revelstoke, British Columbia, in the Rocky Mountains. So they came by boat right across the ocean, and then they got on a train in Halifax and straight across the country to Revelstoke, British Columbia.
How diversified is your campaign team? Anybody from the Chinese community actually heavily involved to help you in your campaign?
Yes, very, very much so. We have, I think my campaign reflects the face of Toronto. We have Asians, we have blacks, we have Hispanics. The team is very widespread, and because of my background, if you were at the debate the other night, you saw in the audience, my people were, I think, reflected the face of Toronto. And so I believe very much in the concept. Because we are such a diverse, multicultural city, my commitment to the people of Toronto is that I'm going to make sure that the 45,000 employees, all the boards and agencies and commissions, reflect the face of Toronto, so that there's Asians, Chinese, Koreans, Italians, Greeks, Portuguese, all in direct report. The police department. I found out the other day, Thomas, that there's not one Somalian police officer on the Toronto Police Service, so something is clearly wrong. I know the police are trying outreach, but I want to accelerate that effort. We have to make sure that not only is the bureaucracy reflective of Toronto, but even when we issue contracts, when we do business with the public, we have to make sure that it's open and available to ethnic business people as well as smaller businesses, medium-sized businesses. Right now, you have to be an insider in order to get contracts.
How important do you think is the ethnic vote for your success, and how would you like to appeal to the Chinese voters that it's important to elect you rather than the other candidates?
The ethnic support for me is very critical, very important, and I appreciate it very much. I have tremendous support in the Chinese community and all the ethnic communities, because I am the son of immigrants, because I can relate on a one-to-one. When people talk about discrimination or racial profiling, through the SARS situation, for example, there was a lot of stereotyping that went on. If you were of Chinese heritage, somehow you were a pariah because of SARS. And I think it's important to have political leaders that will stand up and denounce discrimination and stereotyping immediately when they become aware of it. And so I am very happy with my support in the Chinese community, and I want to continue to build that support and work very closely with the Chinese community, not only now during the election campaign, but afterwards when I'm the mayor of the City of Toronto.
We know that when the campaign started in the beginning, your name recognition was only second to Barbara Hall, and you are just behind Barbara Hall. And now, are you confident you are picking up your votes, and then eventually there will be a fight between you and Barbara?
Yes, it's going to turn into a two-way race, and clearly my name is well known. And the other big issue that's getting my name out there in all communities is I support family. I'm very much supportive of traditional family values, and I believe that marriage is sacrosanct, that marriage predates government, that one of the fundamental pillars, the foundation of our society, is the family. And so I'm the only candidate that supports the traditional definition of marriage, and that marriage is a union, a relationship between a man and a woman, to the exclusion of all others. So I'm very much opposed to gay marriages, gay and lesbian marriages, and I think that is a position that is reflected and accepted in many ethnic communities because of the religious foundation, because of the values that immigrants bring to this country. And I'm not afraid to stand up and tell people how I believe and what I believe in, and that's why I was so successful as a member of Parliament, because I always stood up for what I believed in, and at one point it cost me my job over the GST. I was a Liberal member of Parliament. In 1993 we promised to eliminate the GST, and then when we were elected, the government, Mr. Chrétien, failed to scrap the GST. And what I said to Mr. Chrétien and what I said to my party was, it is wrong. When you promise to do something very fundamental, you have to keep your promise. So we had a parting of the ways.
So you sacrificed yourself for the political integrity in that issue?
Well, it was important to me because when all is said and done, the only thing you have left in politics is your integrity, your reputation. And if you lose that, you can never get it back. And so my parents, my immigrant parents, always taught me to be honest, to have integrity, to be respectful. And I think that's, in a politician, that's an important quality, a critical quality.
So it ties down to the fact that eventually you will be fighting against Barbara, and you think that you are political more a better person than Barbara?
Well, Barbara represents different values. She has her own platform, but you know, she was the mayor. She had an opportunity for 3 years, and to a large extent, she represents the status quo. Whether you're dealing with the homeless or finances, she had a chance and she failed to make a difference for our city. We need strong new leadership now. We need forceful, articulate, compassionate leadership in order to move this city forward. We live in the best country in the world. This is the best city, but we're having problems. And so we need a strong leader, not only to deal with the problems here in Toronto, but also to be a very strong spokesman nationally and internationally. We saw that during the SARS situation, how important it is to have someone that is able to articulate in a compassionate way the needs of the city of Toronto.
Thank you, John. And after the break, we will have more views from you on your own platform. Thank you. We'll have a break now. Thank you for watching TorontoTv. Before the break, we talked with John Nunziata about his own background and why he's a better candidate than the other mayor in the race. Now we want to focus a bit more on his issues. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much, Thomas.
Can you start with something that you are particularly important as far as platforms concerned? What are the one or two particular issues that you think you are better than the other mayor candidates?
Yeah. Well, this is, Thomas, my platform. It was released 2 weeks ago. It is entitled Getting Toronto Moving Again, and I encourage your viewers, those who log on to your website, to go to my website, www.johnnunziata.ca, and you'll see my entire platform. But what it boils down to is a safe, clean, and prosperous society. A safe, clean, and prosperous city.
Can we start with how safe you want Toronto to be?
Well,
some people say Toronto is already very safe. Okay. And the more policemen, the more other security guards will not change much.
Well, one of the reasons why we are one of the safest cities in the world is precisely because we have committed the resources to policing, which is we're spending $636 million a year. It's by far the largest single component to our budget. And so I support that. I want a safe community. We have a safe community. So we can't be complacent. We can't now say, well, we're going to cut back or we're not going to commit the resources we have to. No level of crime is acceptable to me. As we speak, a young Asian girl has gone missing, a 9-year-old girl in North York. It's on the radio today. As you and I are speaking, there are parents that are worried because they went to the young girl's bedroom and she went missing. She's missing. And I hope that she's fine, she's okay. So, those that tell me that I am too tough on crime, I say to them that the people of Toronto appreciate our safe community. We want to support the police. We want to make sure that our communities, our streets, our homes, our neighborhoods are all safe. And so I very much appreciate the police. I will hold them accountable. I think it's important to make sure that what they do is right. I will not give them a blank check. But I want to work with the police. Other candidates are adversarial towards the police.
In what way you can be more tough than they are now on crime?
Well, I happen to believe that the purpose of the justice system is the protection of society. That's the primary purpose. So I would commit resources in order to ensure that we help victims, that we help the police. That would be my focus. Ultimately, we want to prevent crime. And so the way to prevent crime in the long run is to make sure we deal with the root causes of crime. And the root causes of crime are really quite straightforward. Poverty. If you look at those who are in our jails, in our federal penitentiaries, there are usually people, the vast majority of these people are people that had unfortunate beginnings, that didn't have a good start in life. And that critical start is from birth to age 6. And we have those early years, that early childhood education and development is very critical. So we have to make sure that we deal with the root causes of crime. And I want to deal with poverty in this city and the fact that tens of thousands of young children go to school and go to bed hungry.
Let's talk a bit about poverty. Have you any plans so that Toronto can spend a bit more money on affordable housing, for example?
Well, part of my plan, we have over 60,000 units that belong to the city. What we have to do is start moving people out of those units. So I want to break the cycle. Once you are in the cycle of poverty, it's very hard to get out. You tend to rely on food banks, assisted housing. So I want to help these people get jobs and more importantly, I want to investigate the possibility, and they did it in the UK and in Scotland, rent to own, so that people, I will give them the opportunity to those individuals in assisted housing to purchase the units that they live in. Home ownership is very important to people, and if you give them the opportunity, the mechanism to own their own home, it'll result in a remarkable transformation in their lives.
Where can they get the money?
Rent to own.
Where can they afford expensive rent?
Part of their rent goes to home ownership. Okay, yes, what it will mean is that I believe it's an investment. So the city we will slowly transfer ownership to people that have lived for a long period of time. And so as the value of the unit increases, the city still has a mortgage. But what happened in the UK and in Scotland is once you give people the opportunity to own a home, all of a sudden they start cleaning the home, they start painting, they start fixing it up. And then they have an incentive to go out and work, and they break out of the cycle of poverty. And this is something I want to investigate because I think it'll work.
So you think the previous city council has not done sufficiently?
No, they've spent millions and millions of dollars on, building housing. And see, I happen to think that instead of spending hundreds of millions of dollars to build housing, which they have failed to do, the federal government got out of the housing business, the provincial government, they downloaded everything onto the municipality. For people in need, we give them a rent subsidy. So if you are a family of 4 and you're spending more than 30% of your income on housing, there's a formula where we write a check directly to your landlord. So I think that's a better way of doing it, as opposed to forcing these individuals to go into assisted housing, which has a negative stigma attached to it.
So let's turn to transportation. I think you have some very sort of eager views on transportation. Can you tell us how we can get the people to move from one place to another faster and without the difficulty of traffic jams?
Well, I support very much public transit. I take the subway virtually every day. And what we have to make sure is that we reduce the cost of public transit. We freeze transit fares. We reduce the cost of a Metro Pass. The more people that take public transit, the more you can reduce the cost. Fewer people take it. Once you raise the cost, fewer people take public transit. So it has to be convenient and economical. You can't have people waiting 20 minutes, half an hour for a bus. They won't take the bus. They'll drive downtown. So I don't believe, like Mr. Miller believes, in imposing a toll on drivers. I'm totally opposed to tolls. Mr. Miller wants to put tolls, $2.25 to use the Gardner or the Don Valley Expressway. I think it's, frankly, a stupid suggestion.
But it was one of the sources of income to subsidize the kind of money that we are lacking.
Well, it's another form of taxation. If we are going to tax people, which I'm opposed to increasing taxes, then let's be honest about it and tax them directly. You're going to toll drivers not to fix roads, according to Mr. Miller, but to build public transit. There are many people that use the Don Valley Parkway and the Gardner Expressway that just can't use public transit because it's not convenient or available to them. Today, for example, I had an interview at Victoria Park and Steeles. It's totally unreasonable to take public transit from Royal York and Bloor to Victoria Park and Steeles. It would have taken me 2 hours. So I had to drive. There are many people in Etobicoke, Scarborough, North York that have to drive.
Are you supposed to say, for example, given the chance to push ahead any future expansion of the TTC system, what will be the sort of targets?
Number one, a subway across Eglinton to the airport. Number two, a subway north to York University.
How important are them these goals within 1 term or 2 term, or even they are talking and talking and
I want to get into the culture of building subways. As David Crombie said, you build great cities by building subways. You don't build great cities by building buses and putting more buses on the road. So I think it has to be an ongoing process, but we need the help of the federal government.
So talking about big city, are you for the idea of amalgamation, or are you say you think that the previous smaller Toronto is better, or you have even some ideas about turning Toronto into a city of festivals, that kind of big ideas?
Well, I support amalgamation. I just think we haven't completed the whole process of amalgamation. You mentioned the city of festivals. The essence, Thomas, of Toronto today is you and I. You're Asian, I'm of Italian origin. We have every culture in the world represented in Toronto, every language spoken here. We are a multicultural city. It is a strength, it is a power, it's our heart and soul and essence. And every community has a wonderful festival every year. The Greeks on the Danforth, the Ukrainians on Bloor, the Italians, the Chinese in Chinatown, both east and west. Every community has these wonderful festivals. I want to promote Toronto as a city of festivals, so that's how we bring tourists to Toronto. And so I'm going to create a festivals office right in the mayor's office, so we provide the infrastructure. So if the Chinese community, the Italians, the Portuguese want to hold a festival, we support them.
And last of all, I think I'd like to have your views on how can you make Toronto a city of a vibrant economy.
taxes kill jobs. My commitment is to freeze taxes. And I want to pick certain industries. I want to bring tourists back using the city of festivals. I want to support the film industry, which is very important. But overall, we've got to bring our tax rates down because our tax rate, commercial tax rate, is amongst the highest in North America, 30% more than in other municipalities in the GTA, Mississauga, Newmarket, Richmond Hill. We're losing thousands of jobs every year, every month. Thousands of jobs are leaving. And when companies leave, we lose the taxes. So we have to encourage, we have to be competitive. Right now, we're not competitive. The only businesses that are remaining in Toronto are businesses that have to be here. We want to encourage and maintain other businesses so that Toronto is a good place to do business. I want to cut red tape. I want to work with business to expand business in this city.
So you want to look after the little guys as well as to do business with the big shops?
Yeah, I can relate to everybody.
Okay, thank you very much for watching TorontoTv. We are very glad to have this interview with John Nunziata. Thank
you, Tom.
Congratulations.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.各位你哋好，頭先我哋咧就訪問咗 John Nunziata，佢係一個好資深嘅政治人物嚟嘅，但係因為咧喺一個以前咧一次咧，由於呢個關於 GST 事件咧，佢就脱離咗自由黨，而家咧就以自由黨嘅即係以外嘅身份咧，作為一個獨立人士咧，就參與呢一次嘅市政權嘅選舉嗰個市長嘅。咁我哋曾經就問過佢關於佢個人嘅一啲即係從政嘅經驗啊，同埋佢嗰個家庭嘅背景啊，佢嘅背景同我哋好多即係新嘅移民都相似咧，就係佢係一個即係一啲少數族裔嘅家庭長大嘅，但係佢身份咧職業咧就係一個律師，同埋佢好有即係從政嗰個經驗。咁佢俾我哋嘅印象咧就係佢好似咧係想一方面咧好關心多倫多一啲弱小嘅民眾。亦都好關心一啲嘅窮人，佢哋有冇地方住啊？佢哋需要即係有搭車嘅時候咧，應唔應該點樣可以避免交通擠塞啊？咁佢亦都同時咧，佢亦都俾人一個感覺咧，就係佢好注重嗰個多倫多嗰個經濟啊，多倫多嗰個優勢點樣能夠發展成為一個大嘅有活力嘅經濟城市咧？咁我哋今日咧喺我哋嘅談話裏邊咧，我希望大家可以睇到咧，佢係一方面咧係關注嗰個少數民眾，關注一啲窮嘅人家，但同時咧佢亦都俾人一個印象咧，佢係可以同啲商業嘅人物咧，係啲即係投資者咧係可以相處嘅。咁佢嘅背景本